Welcome to another episode of Missionary Moneymaker. I'm your host, Carl Winn. And in today's episode, we're going to continue to build off of the last two episodes where we've been focusing on spiritual development that is tied to what we've been talking about, Start Now, which START stands for Shaping Tomorrow's Advancement Right Today. And so in today's episode, we're going to look at leadership development. So remember the 5 developments that we're going to be looking at over these 10 weeks. We've already did 2 weeks. We're talking about spiritual development, leadership development, economic development, intellectual development, as well as relational development. And so in today's episode, we're going to look at leadership development. As John C. Maxwell said, he's the leadership expert, and he says this: everything rises and falls on leadership. Now, I know some of you may be saying, Carl, I'm not a leader. Well, let me just say this. No matter what organization you're in, no matter if you're in a business, no matter if you're in a nonprofit or church, no matter what organization you may find yourself in, you need to realize that you are a leader, because John Maxwell, he asserts that leadership is simply this: it's influence. And so we have to realize that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And you don't need a title to influence others. But no matter our roles, in order for us to be more effective, we need to develop as a leader. And so the first point we're going to look at today is divine delegation. Right? In order to develop as a leader, we must understand this truth: leadership is divinely delegated. What it simply means is that God decides who leads. God is the one that ordains leadership. Pilate was a Roman leader during the time of Jesus. He was approached by the religious leaders, which are also known as the Pharisees, to crucify Jesus. Not only did they approach him, they insisted that Pilate ordered Jesus to be crucified. However, Pilate understood the weight of his decision. He was aware that he had the authority to sentence Jesus to death or to let him live. And many times, Pilate sought to exonerate Jesus. In John 19, verse 9 through 11, is one of the many times that Pilate sought to set Jesus free. And just for context, I'm going to read verse 1 through 11. So John 19, verse 1 through 11, this is what it says. And Pilate therefore took Jesus and scourged him. And the soldiers platted a crown of thorns and put it on his head. And they put on him a purple robe and said, Hail, King of the Jews! And they smote him with their hands. Pilate therefore went forth again and said unto them, Behold, I bring him forth to you, that ye may know that I find no fault in him. Then came Jesus forth, wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe. And Pilate said unto them, Behold the man. When the chief priests, therefore, and officers saw him, they cried out, saying, Crucify him, crucify him. Pilate said unto them, Take ye him and crucify him, for I find no fault in him. The Jews answered him, We have a law, and by our law he ought to die, because he made himself the Son of God. When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he was the more afraid, and went again into the judgment hall, and said unto Jesus, Whence art thou? But Jesus gave him no answer. Then said Pilate to him, Speakest thou not unto me? Knowest thou not that I have power to crucify thee and have power to release thee? Jesus answered, Thou couldst have no power at all against me, except it were given thee from above. Therefore he that delivered me unto thee had the greater sin. So when we look at that account, we see Pilate was trying to release Jesus, and the chief Pharisees, they were continually wanted to crucify Jesus. But verse 11, Jesus brings out this truth. He brings out this truth. He says this is that leadership is given from above. And so as I consider this truth, I am aware of my responsibility to use my own leadership ability in a way that glorify God and serve other people. And so in this account of the trial of Jesus, we see two poor examples of leaders. One, the chief priests, the officers, the Pharisees, Pilate. We see these two different groups. They are poor examples of leaders. They are poor examples of how they use their authority. The chief priests and Pharisees use their leadership and their power to influence the crucifixion of Jesus by changing the mind of the Jewish people and Pilate. Jesus tells Pilate this, the ones who deliver me to you have the greater sin. Then Pilate uses authority to ultimately crucify Jesus. He gave into the manipulation of the chief priests, the officers, the Pharisees. So he was manipulated, and he used this authority to give in to them, even though he knew what he was doing was wrong. And so if we are to develop our leadership capacity, we must understand that all leadership is divinely delegated, and it doesn't matter what our roles are. It matters how we respond to the authority that Jesus, that God has delegated to us. Don't let the music die with you. That is something I've been telling Christians for the last year. Many Christians say that they want to write a book. Well, that is my goal, is not to let the music die with you. Because guess what? Once you die, the value that you have, it can't come back out. And writing a book is a great way to increase your impact, your income, and influence. And my goal is to help 10,000 Christians in 2026 write and publish a book. So if that's you, I want you to download this free worksheet. It's called 5 Ways to Finding Your Unique Book Idea. And I want to help you write your book. Remember, don't let the music die with you. Go ahead and start singing it loud and proud right now. And remember, this is not about pride, but it's about productivity. Point number 2, if we are to grow in our leadership, we need to understand purpose of position. I want to introduce to you another acrostic for POP, which I didn't say this earlier, but the first acrostic for POP is this: progress over perfection. And I need to say this here because this is important. We need to understand something, that leadership is not about perfection, but it is progress over perfection. If we're going to grow and develop as leaders, then we need to understand that it's progress over perfection. In fact, development, the word development means advancing. It means progress. It means getting better. It means growing. And so we have to realize that no matter what position you may hold as a leader, you need to realize this is progress over perfection. So you don't need to focus on being perfect, but what you do need to focus on, getting better every day. But this next acrostic for POP is this: purpose of position. If we're going to grow as leaders, we need to understand the purpose of position. And as we come to this second idea of POP, of purpose over position, we need to understand that when we understand this purpose over position, we put ourselves in a position to develop our leadership capacity. And so Jesus was approached by the mother of two zealous brothers who were his disciples. These brothers wanted high-ranking positions as leaders in Jesus' kingdom. In fact, the mother requested, "Grant that these my two sons may sit, the one on your right hand and the other on your left, in thy kingdom." This request made the other 10 disciples upset. Remember, progress over perfection. Jesus, being the master teacher, used this context to teach his disciples an important leadership principle. He addresses the second POP, purpose of position. So listen to Matthew chapter 20, verse 25 through 28. It says this: "But Jesus called them unto him and said, Ye know that the princes of the Gentiles exercise dominion over them, and they that are great exercise authority upon them. But it shall not be among you. But whoever will be great among you, let him be your minister. And whosoever will be chief among you, let him be your servant. Even as the Son of Man came not to be minister unto, but to minister and to give his life a ransom for many." And so we see here in this account that Jesus lets us know that leadership is about service. And so the position of purpose, we need to understand this. The purpose of the position is this: it is to serve others. So Jesus makes this statement. He said he didn't come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. And so in the world, those who don't know Christ, the way that they exercise authority, the way that they lead is to master people, to dominate them, and to rule over them harshly. But Jesus says in his kingdom, our leadership, the purpose of the position of leadership is to serve. And so as we think about the divinely delegated position of a leader, is to figure out how we can serve those who God has entrusted to us. So as I think about my life my role as a husband, as a father, as a business leader, as a community leader, I need to be asking myself this question: how can I serve those who I lead better? I want to be seeking ways to serve them better. In fact, one of my prayers is, God, help me to serve my wife in such a way that she can flourish. I want to give her the runway for her to serve better. And so how can I lead so well where she has the runway for her to serve as a wife, as a mother, in a way that glorify God and create value for others? I want to see her prosper, but that's the same case in my other leadership capacities, whether that's with my children, whether that's in my business, whether that's in ministry, whether that's in the community. I'm always looking for ways, how can I grow as a leader by serving those whom I lead well. And remember, leadership is about influence. I know that I'm influencing people. In fact, I know that if you're watching this podcast, if you're listening to this podcast, I'm influencing you. In fact, I want to influence you to glorify God and to create value for other people. And so that's why I take time to record this podcast. It's because I want to see you as a Christian in the marketplace. I want to see you increase your impact, your income, your influence for the glory of God and the good of those. I want to see you as a leader influencing your team members, your vendors, your customers, your community in a way that makes them more happy, more healthy, more holy. I want to empower you to serve in your role in a way that brings glory to God and that advances the community, that advances equity in the world. And so, as Jesus was preparing to ascend to heaven, he called his highest ranking disciple to grow as a leader. He asked him 3 separate times, followed with the same command, Peter, do you love me? And Peter answered, yes, Lord. And he said, then Jesus said to him, feed my sheep. And so we see here that Jesus is giving Peter, remember, Peter is the high-ranking disciple of Jesus. He's the one when the Pentecost came, when the Spirit of God came, that he preached and 3,000 souls were saved. Jesus was telling Peter this, is that your call is to feed my sheep, meaning that his job as a leader was to serve the people, serve the sheep, to feed them. His job was not to act high and mighty as if, look at me, I got this role. You need to do what I say. You need to follow me. You need to do what I tell you to do. He wasn't throwing around his weight. Jesus says, Peter, your responsibility is to feed the sheep. And that is synonymous to equipping them, making sure that they're prepared, making sure that they're strong, making sure that they are well fed so that they can go out and glorify God and create value for others. So as we think about our leadership, it is to serve others, serve those whom we're leading so well so that they can go out and serve whom that they need to serve well. So remember, leadership is about influence. So it's a domino effect. If we're influencing those who we're leading well, then those whom we are influencing, they're going to go out and influence other people well. And so as I think about my role as a husband, as a father, I want to serve my family in such a way when they go out to serve, they're influencing other people well. In my business, I want to serve my team so well that when they go out, they're going to serve our customers well. Right? Think about you in your business. No matter what your role is, no matter if you're the CEO, the top entrepreneur, or just a high-level executive or manager, whatever role you may be in, you need to realize that the way that you serve your people is going to be, in a sense, the way that they're going to serve their people. So serve well. It is a domino effect. So for me, for us, we should be asking ourselves these, and those who we influence, how can I serve you better? This can include our team, our vendors, our community, our country, our congregation, our family, employer, our children, our spouse. Ask them this question, ask ourselves those questions. How can I serve you better? And so to develop as a leader, then we must understand the purpose of position. The leadership position is about serving, not being served. Number 3, if we're going to develop as leaders, then we need to be leading ourselves first. A man was at a conference where and a leadership expert was teaching. The floor came open for questions. The young man asked the expert, how can I start growing as a leader even though I don't have anyone to lead? The expert replied, you do have someone to lead. The young man looked at him. Who? He said, yourself. So we need to realize that the first person that we need to lead well is ourselves. Lasting public leadership is forged in the moments of private leadership. We must focus on leading ourselves well in order to lead others well. I ask myself often, Carl, how are you improving? What are some ways do I need to improve? Remember, it's progress over perfection. We should be positioning our priorities to improve personally. In order to develop personally, we need to focus on facts. This is another acrostic I developed when I was thinking about growing personally. Facts stands for few actions consistently taken systematically. Let me say that again. Facts stands for few actions consistently taken systematically. If we are to position ourselves privately to become a better leader, we must focus on the facts. And here are a few facts I'm working on daily in the morning and evening. 1, reading the Word of God 30 minutes. 2, journaling 15 minutes. 3, read a book for 15 minutes. The people we know that we call great in certain crafts, they focus on facts. A few actions consistently taken systematically. And I believe with these few actions, I can lead myself better and position myself to serve others. And so as you think about your ability to lead, you need to ask yourself, what are those facts that I can focus on? What are those few actions that I can take consistently that systematically that can help me show up better as a leader? What are those facts, right? What are those few actions consistently taken systematically that's going to change my leadership? Proverbs 9:12 tells us, if thou be wise, thou shalt be wise for thyself. But if thou scornest, thou alone shalt bear it. And so as we think about leading, we need to understand it starts with ourselves. It starts with us. And when we grow in wisdom, we first benefit ourselves, but then it goes and runs to others. So when we are growing privately, the public benefits. So leadership development is important for us to shape tomorrow advancement right today. And it starts with us. Welcome to Missionary Moneymaker, the podcast where making a dime is making a difference. I'm Carl James Winn Jr. And we believe this: mission and money were never meant to be separated. Every Christian in the marketplace is a missionary, called to create value, solve problems, and steward influence for the glory of God. This podcast is a discipleship movement, a marketplace masterclass, and a prophetic reframe of how we think about work, wealth, and calling. Here, we equip entrepreneurs, professionals, and leaders to increase their impact, income, and influence without guilt. without comparison, just calling. If you're ready to leverage your past, walk in obedience, and build with purpose, you're in the right place. Let's go to work. Remember this, is that we're going to either create public equity or we're going to create public liabilities. And it is all dependent on our leadership. How are we leading well? How are we privately leading ourselves well so that we can show up in the public well? So as I close this podcast, if we're going to shape tomorrow's advancement right today, then we need to understand this. One, leadership is about divine delegation. This is not something that we choose. It is something that God ordains. God ordains leadership. No matter what your role is, God ordains it. The second is we need to understand POP, which is purpose of position. We need to realize the purpose of the position. Leadership is not about you. It's not about you showing off. Look at me. I got this position, right? We know so many people who are in certain roles, whether that's in business, in churches, in the government. They're getting this role as if it's about them. But leadership, purpose of position, it's about serving other people. It's not about you. It's about how well do you use that role to glorify God and serve others. And the third thing is we need to realize that we need to lead ourselves first. Private leadership makes public leadership more acceptable. Now, not only does it make it more acceptable, but it makes it more credible. What are you doing privately? That's the real question. So as we wrap up this podcast, my encouragement to you is to focus on progress over perfection. Don't worry about where you are today, but worry about how you're getting better tomorrow. Because remember, development in itself implies growth. It implies advancement. It implies innovation, getting better every day. And I want to tell you that it doesn't matter where you are. As Zig Ziglar says, he said, you don't have to be great to start, but in order to be great, you must start. And so if we're going to shape tomorrow advancement right today, is that we need to start working on our leadership development today. And going back to the previous two episodes, we need to start with that spiritual development. How are we growing in our relationship with God? How are we working on growing spiritually? That's the foundation of all development, is our spiritual development, and everything else follows. So I want to encourage you, don't give up. You may have made some mistakes, because that's normal. Don't beat yourself up, but keep forging along. Keep moving forward, because remember, it's progress over perfection. Now I want to encourage you, go out, start tomorrow, start shaping tomorrow, advancing right today. Go make it happen. So if this podcast has helped you, please let me know. Leave a review in the comments, no matter where you listen to it, whether it's on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you're listening to it. Let me know that this is helping you. And if you have questions, reach out to me. I'll put my phone number in the show notes, 832-851-9801. You can reach me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. Just get in touch with me, because my goal is to see you grow. And if you just want to connect, reach out to me. Remember, we're growing a tribe. We're growing a community of missionary moneymakers, helping Christians increase their impact, their income, and their influence, for the glory of God and the good of others. So if you know someone who can benefit from this podcast, go ahead and send it to them. Let them know what's happening. Invite them into the community, and let's continue to glorify God and create value for others. And until next time, keep moving forward. God bless you. Missionary Moneymaker, where making a dime is making a difference. This is a discipleship movement, a marketplace masterclass, and a bold reframe of mission and money, helping Christians increase impact, income, and influence without guilt, without comparison, just calling.